sister. Hi. I've decided to implement some deadlines for myself. Now, the first deadline up is just doing the outline. I have decided I want to have the outline finished by end of this month, and that feels generous. I really buckled down. I could get that done in maybe half the time. I'd probably be done by the middle of the month, but I'm padding it because of life, because of kids and dishes, and I don't know why I keep using dishes as an example. It's a really dumb example, but you get my point. So I broke the month into 3 easy sections. I want to have Act 1 outlined by the 10th. I want to have Act 2 outlined by the 20th. And I want to have the complete outline finished, Act 3 done by the 30th. Easy peasy. So that's done. And then I sat down and I just thought about where this novel is going and what I want to have done and when I want to have it done by. And I've decided that I'm going to take that first rough draft in outline form and flesh it into an actual real draft. And I want that done by maybe the end of June. And then I want to have editing done by the end of the summer months. And then hopefully then be talking to my agent and saying, okay, when is this ready for publication? So the goal is less than a year. I want to have this novel condensed and finished and ready to go out to the public in less than 365 days. Is that doable? Is this too ambitious? I don't know, but that's where I'm at right now, and I guess 2023 will be a learning year and see if I actually can do that in the amount of time that I would like to? ? In any case, I'm working on the outline. The hook is 100% done. The hook was just one chapter about it's a then chapter. So the book basically starts with Maggie, and it's basically the world in chaos. Things are on fire. There's probably some weird magical monstery element in it. I've temporarily called it a demon, but that's just so my brain knows what I'm thinking about. And it's actually going to be, I think, from Simone's point of view, but Simone's going to be thinking that this is all Maggie's fault. So the reader's coming immediately into the action. They don't know what the hell is going on, but they know the name Maggie from the previous novel, and they know Simone from the previous novel. So they have these words coming from someone they probably trust, and they know who they are. And they're saying that this was all Maggie's fault. So that's finished. The next 2 chapters are finished, my inciting incident chapters for both timelines. In the now chapter where Kate, whose name still remains to be changed, right now I'm leaning on either Tahoe or Venice. And I'm kind of sort of leaning towards Tahoe just because I have this weird cutesy moment in my head where people are like, why do you want to move there? It's just filled with a bunch of rich people. And she's got this whole elaborate life planned for herself in her head that I really enjoy. It's like this 16-year-old has planned her entire life, and it sounds so quaint and cozy, and you know it's never going to happen because A, she's 16 and she just doesn't know what she wants yet for life. She thinks she does, but she doesn't know yet. And plus, we know and she doesn't know that she's going to be having a child very quickly, and she's just going to be anchored, cemented into place, and not be able to do any of this. So right now, I'm leaning temporarily towards Tahoe. I don't know. The problem is with this character, she has been Kate for like 20 years. Like, I'm not kidding. I started writing this story in 2003, which it's been an embarrassing long time to take me to finish the novel, but I don't know. Life happens. You put it up, pick it down, imposter syndrome. I know. Throw that all into a pot and stir, and that's what you got. But in any case, this character has been that name for 20 years. But I was doing some thinking, and I realized there's another heroine in the genre whose name is Kate Daniels. And I read that series, I don't know, way back when, and I didn't end up finishing it because I wasn't really liking the direction it was going, and it just kind of popped out of my head until I was just, thinking about things, and about like, why would Maggie ever name her kid after her mother, who she hates? And then this other little thing popped. I was like, oh wait, that could be confusing for someone else, or maybe even misconstrued about why I named the character that. So I'm going the weird, quirky location name. I just haven't figured out what that's going to be yet. Okay, anyways, I'm getting off track. So I'm just going to keep calling her Kate until the name change is final. But in the now chapters, in the inciting incident, Kate wakes up in the basement. She has no idea how she got there. She's seeing shadows and hearing whispery voices, which she thinks are just pieces of the dream that are still left over. And she's feeling very raw and broken. Now, the time from the previous novel to this one is only 1 month, only 30 days has passed. She's permanently moved into the farm. She's given up her apartment. Her red car obviously was in an accident, so she's kind of given that up. She bought a cheap truck while she's waiting for insurance and stuff. So her life has basically feel like it's taken 180, and she's kind of doesn't know what she's doing. Like, she's just wandering. She has no real purpose. She just, I don't know. She's in that post-traumatic state where something really traumatic has happened to her, and now she's just kind of wandering along in a slightly catatonic state. And this inciting incident is going to A, give her some purpose, but also B, kick her on her butt. I've decided that the Witch Council is going to basically serve her a summons. And I actually wrote that into the end of the chapter, where one of the witches from the circle that the reader will recognize from the previous book, her name is Debbie. Debbie comes and hands Kate a letter and then just kind of walks away, just kind of like, you're served, like with jury duty and stuff like that, or being sued. So Kate is handed this letter, and it's a summons to come before the Witch Council because her actions ultimately resulted in Sam's death. And that just, Tad and Jack are with her, and Jack was Sam's brother. So everyone is just kind of like, whoa, what the hell is this? And then I cut the chapter, and we'll pick back up in the next one. So that's the inciting incident there. Now, on the then side with Maggie, the inciting incident is more complex, it's more emotional. Maggie is 15, she's going to be 16 in a couple weeks. She's not pregnant yet, but Henry, she was friends with Henry in high school, and Henry comes to her and is like, I found a way to give us magic. And she's like, yeah, right, I've got other things on my mind. I can't wait to leave this town. I just want to leave magic behind me forever. I want nothing to do with it anymore, because Maggie, if you remember, or possibly if I've never mentioned it before. In any case, so we have our main character, Kate. Maggie is her mother, and her mother is Kat. So the grandmother is kind of sort of like the absent big bad in the first novel. She's a very powerful witch, but she's killed, and it's kind of like this, the oppressive weight of her is just kind of over the whole situation. So Maggie is her daughter, but Maggie was born without magic. And it's kind of like this sore, this wound for her, especially when she was younger. She really wanted magic, and she was obsessed with it. But then now that she's a teenager and she's like just kind of really coming into her own, she's almost an adult, and she is just done with magic. She's tired of feeling like shit about it. She's tired of growing up in this community where there are other witches from other like witch families, and she's tired of feeling like the stupid outsider who should have magic but doesn't. So she just can't wait to leave. And so Henry, who is also obsessed with magic, comes up and is like, I found a way to give us magic. And she's just like, you know what, fuck off, dude, I don't need this. But her inciting incident is later in that chapter. She's basically being bullied by the other witch kids. The other teenagers in high school who are also witches. They've put a small curse on her. Basically, just she's doing dumb stuff. She's tripping. She's dropping things. Like things are flying open when she thought they were closed. You know, that kind of really dumb stuff. And she's actually saved by Simone, the older witch from book 1. And Simone at this point is like a senior in high school. And it's the way Simone handles it that is actually Maggie's inciting incident. Simone is honestly trying to help Maggie, and I think that's a big thing with Simone's character. She is trying to do the right thing, but she manages to step in it every single time. So Simone is trying to help Maggie, and she's berating the boys who had cast this curse on her, and Maggie learns that this curse is basically aimed towards children, towards young toddlers could break it, but she can't break it because she doesn't have magic. And the whole shitty day and the shitty night before, the argument she had with her mother has just all crashes down on her at the same time. So the end of that chapter has Maggie going to Henry and just saying, you know what, screw them all, let's do this. So Maggie's inciting incident is way more emotional than the other side. And that's kind of where I'm at. It took me a while to figure out what Maggie's inciting incident was going to be, like what was going to push her into the plot, because the character I had built just can't wait to leave this place, and that absolutely 100% does not help plot. So it took me a while to figure that out, but once I did, it felt pretty natural and is going pretty well. So next on the list right now, I'm working on like kind of that in-between chapter where things just like build up and get more intense. So both Maggie and Kate, it's kind of like, it's not quite the montage area of the novel, but it kind of feels like it's like that early bit where things get moving. So Maggie and Henry are going to start the plan to work the spell, which is going to include breaking into her mother's attic workshop and going through the books in there and trying to find bits of the spell to actually implement. And in Kate's version of the build-up plot, it's going to be, that one is going to get more emotional, and Kate is going to feel like the crushing weight of responsibility and guilt from Sam's death, a woman who she basically didn't know but is ultimately the cause of her death. So there's going to be that going on, but plus other little things, like she's going to go into town and buy a deadbolt for the basement door so she doesn't wake up there again. Although I can't decide if she should do that now or she should do that later in the novel. I can't decide if she wakes up in the basement again, if then she should go to town and get one, but I'm worried that if I push it off, it'll be too late to get her into town, if that makes sense. Like, if I push it up till she wakes up again in the basement, even if that is like maybe at the end of Act 1 where she wakes up in the basement again and the reader realizes like, oh shit, this is a problem. Not that it wasn't already a problem, but it's more of a problem at that point. If I wait until that point, then we're already in Act 2 and things are already starting to steamroll, and I'm worried there just won't be a good break point to get her into town and then back to the farm for things to happen. Now, I realize that the story can't all be self-contained inside the farm, but that is kind of the epicenter for the whole plot with both when Maggie's plot eventually ties into the Kate plot, it is back at the farm. And it's, I don't know, I'm just talking this through, I guess, not to the camera. Sorry about that. But I'm worried that if I don't do it now, there won't be a spot for it later, because if I try to do it later, it might break up the action too much and I might just lose the reader in the whole roll of events. So it's better safer than sorry and put it in the beginning. In any case, that's what's next on the agenda, is doing that building rising tension in the first act until we get to the first plot point, which is really just going to spearhead the plot and throw the reader into the book. Okay, if you've gotten this far in the video, you're awesome. Thanks for listening to all my ramblings, and I will see you guys next week when I'm still working on the outline.